Good evening. You're watching the news tonight, your daily roundup of all that has happened across India and the world. I'm Ishan Russell, and these are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. The Rajya Sabha paralysed as Congress and BSP protest alleged atrocities against Dalit youths. Government maintains that state issues can't be used to hold up proceedings. Amid disruptions in both houses, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj makes statement on a recent visit to Pakistan, says India will engage in a comprehensive dialogue on all issues with Pakistan. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley meet Congress leaders Anand Sharma and Gulab Nabi Azad over the GST bill. Meeting remains inconclusive. Prime Minister Narendra Modi starts two-day visit to Kerala. Congress and opposition parties protest against Kerala Chief Minister Oomen Chandy not being invited to statue unveiling function. And tensions increase between Russia and Turkey. Russia says its warships had to fire a Turkish boat to avoid collision. The top story this evening, Rajya Sabha proceedings were paralysed as the Congress and BSP members protested against the SAD-BJP government in Punjab over alleged atrocities against Dalit youths in the state. Both parties pressed for immediate dismissal of the Punjab government. The government, however, sought to downplay the allegations and maintained that state issues cannot be discussed in the House. The uproar led to a series of adjournments.
Rajya Sabha on Monday saw the Congress and the BSP upping the ante against the BJP and its alliance partner in Punjab, Akali Dal, over the alleged anti-Dalit activities in the state. Leader of opposition Gulab Nabi Azad demanded the dismissal of the Punjab government. BSP leader Mayawati also launched a sharp attack on the Punjab government and demanded the centre's intervention.
पंजाब में जो कोalition गवर्नमेंट है अकाली दल की और बीजेपी ये आतंकवाद से भी बदतर है ड्रग माफिया की सरकार है ये शराब माफिया की सरकार है कोई लॉ एंड ऑर्डर पंजाब में नहीं है
मामला अति गंभीर है इस मामले को सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को गंभीरता से लेना चाहिए वहां की सरकार को बर्खास्त करना चाहिए
Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi condemned all incidents of atrocities against Dalits. He also urged the state government to take stern action against the culprits.
इस तरह की दरिंदगी को किसी भी रूप में जस्टिफाई नहीं ठहराया जा सकता। जो भी गुनाहगार है उनके खिलाफ कड़े से कड़ी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। ये हम राज्य सरकार से भी अपील करेंगे और कोई भी गुनाहगार इसमें बचना नहीं चाहिए।
But unrelenting Congress and BSP members marched into the well of the House as proceedings were disrupted. The protests evoked a sharp response from the Deputy Chairman.
I am requesting the slogan shouting members to go back their seat. Your action is undemocratic.
Repeated pleas by Chairman Mohammad Hamid Ansari to allow question hour to function also went unheeded. The House witnessed several adjournments through the day.
Please go back to your places. You have no locus standing in the well, none whatsoever.
The incident referred to by the opposition happened on Saturday in Abohar in Punjab. Limbs of two men were chopped off at a farmhouse allegedly owned by an Akali Dal leader. An FIR has been filed against 11 people, including the Akali Dal leader Shivlal Doda and his nephew. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And Congress protests drowned out External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj's statement on a visit to Pakistan in the Rajya Sabha. As soon as she stood up to read out her statement, Congress members trooped to the chairman's podium with anti-government slogans. Swaraj, however, read out the whole statement despite the sloganeering. Sounding upset, Deputy Chairman P.J. Kurian told the protesters that it was most undemocratic that a few members were holding the House to ransom. He also briefly adjourned the House, but the scene was no different when it met again. And we're joined by Parsa Venkateshwara Rao Jr., editorial consultant at the DNA, to help us understand, Parsa. The winter session now, it seems, is going to be a complete washout, a new issue every day, and the opposition completely united and rallying against the government.
It's unfortunate that the opposition has resorted to this kind of a disruptive tactics. But then, unfortunately, this has become the norm for many years now in both the houses of parliament. There just does not seem to be any way out of this impasse, because the opposition thinks the only way they can draw the attention of the people of the country through the media is to stage a very aggressive protest, and that means walking into the house, well of the house, and disrupting the proceedings. But the price that is being paid is much too heavy. No legislative work gets done, and very important bills do not get passed, and that has a real effect on the governance of the country.
Absolutely.
So that's where we stand.
Including the GST bill, of course. We'll be talking about that a little later, but also the other bills, Parsa. In terms of this winter session, it is quite critical for the government, and it's a reform agenda, so to say. So in that sense, what are we losing out on?
We are losing time on everything else, you know, in the sense that the work that needs to be done is not getting done. Now, what we have to understand is there any way out of this kind of a situation? Perhaps the government should reach out, and it has to adopt a more conciliatory attitude and tone towards the opposition. But the opposition also has an obligation to respond in kind, that if the government tries to reach out, I think they should respond. Somewhere what is happening is, in the Indian political scene, people adopt hardened stances and then sort of climb down, and it has become a practice. So we do not know why and where which party is taking up a hardened stance only to come down later. But I think what happens is, in the heat of the moment, they lose that space to retreat, and they are forced to stand by what they are. I mean, it's some sort of a suicidal tactic, it looks like.
All right, Parsa, I'll ask you to stay on with us, because there's another story that I would want your comments on, and that's about the GST bill, because the deadlock over that continues despite Finance Minister Arun Jaitley holding talks with Congress leaders to sort out differences. The meeting was inconclusive. With only 7 days left from tomorrow for the winter session to conclude, Jaitley and Parliamentary Affairs Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu hosted a lunch for Leader of Opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Ghulam Nabi Azad, Deputy Leader Anand Sharma, and Chief Whip in the Lok Sabha, Jyotiraditya Scindia, to discuss the issue of the GST and functioning of Parliament. At the meet, the Congress made it clear to the government that the engagement between them cannot be restricted to just one bill, and that other important legislations were also pending. Citing absence of Leader of Congress in Lok Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge, the party sought another meeting, which was readily accepted by the government, which is keen to break the logjam on this particular key economic reform measure. And let's go back to Parsa Venkateshwara Rao, who's with us in the studio. Parsa, as far as the GST bill is concerned, now a lot riding for the government on this particular one, including a lot of prestige. With just 8 days left, do you think the efforts that are being made to reach out could bear fruit, and we could see the GST passing in the upper house?
I think there's a very faint glimpse of hope that the GST will go through, because I think the Congress leaders also realize that they cannot be seen to have obstructed a very, what do you call, a positive reform measure like the GST. The GST was initiated by the Congress, and it would look very churlish on the part of the main opposition party to have not let this bill go through. But what is the problem is that none of the parties, both the BJP and the Congress, are not stating or not putting on the table what are the real issues. Of course, the talks are going on behind closed doors, and they are trying to arrive at some sort of a compromise. But I think the ideal thing would have been that the House discusses the GST bill, and the Congress should, in all honesty, bring out its objections. And if the objections are satisfactorily answered by the government, then the Congress should concede and let the legislation go through. But unfortunately, what happens in these matters is that there is always an attempt to come to an understanding or a compromise behind closed doors, and we really do not know what are the terms at issue that is holding up the bill. The Congress claims that it is not opposing the bill on certain very real concerns. Then they should make public their concerns, and the only way they can do that is through a debate in the Rajya Sabha.
So let's see whether that debate happens or not. But just 8 days left for the winter session to conclude, and all up for grabs right now. Partha Venkateshwara Rao Jr., thank you very much for coming in and helping us understand the goings-on in Parliament a little better. And moving on to the Lok Sabha, where External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj gave a statement on a visit to Pakistan. She informed the House that issues of mutual importance were discussed and India also put forward its concerns. But the opposition questioned the minister over what had changed in Pakistan's stance since that the bilateral dialogue had been resumed.
In a statement on her Pakistan visit in Lok Sabha, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj informed the House that she had asked authorities there to speed up the legal proceedings in the 2611 case. In her meeting with Pak PM Nawaz Sharif, Sushma Swaraj condemned terrorism and the two sides agreed to work together to eliminate the menace. The minister also expressed hope that the next round of talks would help bring peace and development to the region.
साथ ही हमारी सरकार पाकिस्तान सहित अपने सभी पड़ोसी देशों के साथ शांतिपूर्ण एवं सहयोगात्मक संबंधों के प्रति वचनबद्ध है, ताकि दक्षिण एशिया में शांति और विकास के लिए जो प्रयास इस सरकार ने अपना कार्यभार संभालने के समय शुरू किए थे, उन्हें आगे बढ़ाया जा सके। पाकिस्तान के साथ इस नवीन वार्ता के दो उद्देश्य हैं। पहला, चिंता के विषयों पर रचनात्मक बातचीत के जरिए समस्याओं का निराकरण करना और साथ ही सहयोगात्मक संबंधों को स्थापित करना तथा इस दिशा में नए मार्ग तलाशना।
Leaders of the opposition wanted to know what change in Pakistan's outlook had prompted the government to resume dialogue.
What has happened in this? Have the border infiltrations reduced? Pakistani intelligence activities reduced, or the firing on the border reduced, so that suddenly from September to December we have a flip-flop.
हम इतने तेज रफ्तार से 15 दिन के अंदर 10 दिन के अंदर ये जो चाय हुआ, ये ठीक है कि बैक चलता रहता है, वो काम करना पड़ता है, लेकिन आप जनता को साथ में नहीं ले।
And after the Paris summit, that we have become so confident that yes, things can progress. Perpetrators of crime who have done grievous, heinous crime in this country, who were exported from Pakistan, who repeatedly shed blood on our borders. Okay. Has anything concrete has happened after that meeting that occurred in Bangkok? We would like to understand.
क्या सुषमा जी ने जो जम्मू कश्मीर में वाजपेयी जी के टाइम में एक स्पेड वर्क हुआ था मुजफ्फराबाद रोड खुलने का, उसके बाद यूपीए सरकार में खुला, उसमें भी आइटम्स पे रिस्ट्रिक्शन है। दूसरा, कम्युनिकेशन कोई नहीं, पाकिस्तान से जितने आप फोन करना चाहो कश्मीर कर सकते हो, यहाँ से फोन नहीं कर सकते, बैंकिंग फैसिलिटी नहीं है, उसको हम आगे नहीं बढ़ा सके। तो मेरा ये है कि क्या इस बारे में कोई बात हुई या होने वाली है?
Sushma Swaraj assured the House that India's security was the government's topmost priority. Sushma had visited Pakistan last week for the Heart of Asia conference. She also had meetings with her Pak counterpart Sartaj Aziz and Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
The Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi was on the offensive today, leading a protest outside Parliament House. He said he was demonstrating against what he called the BJP government's objectionable actions.
Rahul Gandhi on the offensive, airing one grievance after the other outside Parliament. Targeting the government, he claimed that RSS workers stopped him from entering a temple in Barpeta, Assam.
I wanted to visit a temple. And at the temple, the RSS people, they stopped me from entering the temple. This is the way the BJP operates.
Rahul said he visited the temple later in the evening after the RSS workers left the place. Asking the BJP to change its style of functioning, the Congress Vice President referred Punjab, where he claimed innocent people were being butchered.
You're all aware of what has happened in Punjab. Innocent people have been butchered. This is completely out of order, out of line.
Various BJP leaders and allies countered Rahul's claims.
ये गलत बात है। सरकार उनकी है और उनकी सरकार रहते हुए अगर वो आरोप लगा रहे हैं तो उनकी सरकार क्या कर रही थी वहाँ? उनको विचार करना चाहिए कि उनकी सरकार की क्षमता क्या है वहाँ।
अनंत कहानियों की एक सीरीज प्रारंभ हो गई है। शैलजा जी ने जिस प्रकार पहले कहा, ये शैलजा पार्ट 2 लगता है मुझे। राहुल गांधी जैसे उच्च पद पर बैठे हुए व्यक्ति के द्वारा इस प्रकार हास्यास्पद बयान देना, जो इतनी सुरक्षा में चलते हैं, जहां आसाम में उनकी सरकार हो वहां उनको कोई घुसने नहीं दे, इससे बड़ी मजाक की और क्या बात हो सकती है।
A belligerent Aam Aadmi Party also countered Rahul over his criticism of the demolition drive that allegedly left an infant dead in Delhi. The party pointed out that the drive was carried out by the railways. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi started his two-day visit to Kerala amid a huge political controversy over Kerala Chief Minister Oommen Chandy not being invited to a function of the Erava community. Congress and other opposition parties raised the issue in both houses, calling it an insult to Chandy.
A political storm has erupted over Prime Minister Narendra Modi's maiden visit to Kerala, with the state's Chief Minister Oommen Chandy not being invited for the Prime Minister's events on Tuesday. The Congress has taken exception to this, accusing the government of using the Prime Minister's constitutional position for political vendetta. In Lok Sabha too, Congress members were on the offensive as they called this an attack on the country's federal structure.
The Prime Minister of this country has insulted the people of Kerala. He has stopped our Chief Minister from going to a function. The Chief Minister of Kerala represents the people of Kerala. The Chief Minister of Kerala is the voice of the people of Kerala. And the Prime Minister has insulted that voice. This is simply not acceptable to us.
PMO had sent the final program. Here, Dice plan, no place for the Chief Minister of Kerala, madam. No place for the Chief Minister of Kerala. Then it is very clear that who is behind it. This is very clear that who is behind for expelling the Chief Minister from this function. It is very clear that PMO and the Honorable Prime Minister's hand is in this.
The government dismissed the charges outright. Home Minister Rajnath Singh said the decision on the invitation to Chandy was taken by SNDP, a social organization, due to an internal row.
It is a case of insult to the people of Kerala. यह बात वेणुगोपाल जी ने कही है और मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि यह आरोप पूरी तरह से बेबुनियाद है, यह आरोप पूरी तरह से निराधार है। वह ऑर्गेनाइजेशन किसको आमंत्रित करता है, किसको नहीं आमंत्रित करता है, यह पूरी तरह से फैसला लेने का अधिकार यदि किसी का है तो उस सोशल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एसएनडीपी का है, उससे प्रधानमंत्री जी का अथवा किसी का कोई लेना देना नहीं है।
Oommen Chandy himself called it a violation of protocol, but he did give a ceremonial welcome to the Prime Minister in Kochi. The Prime Minister will unveil the statue of former Chief Minister of Kerala R. Shankar in Kollam on Tuesday. With inputs from Pranav Goswami, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, time for us to take a quick break right now. On the other side, politics over the demolition of slums in West Delhi. Details on the other side.
Celebrations in Paris. The world gets a climate accord. But does the Paris Pact go far enough? How will it help planet Earth? Watch the big picture at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, rising food prices pushed up the country's wholesale inflation rate further to -1.99% for November against -3.81% for October. Food prices in November rose to 5.2% year-on-year compared to a 2.44% gain in October. Prices of lentils rose 58.2% from a year earlier in November. Wholesale fuel prices, however, dropped 11.09% from a year ago in November, while prices of manufactured goods declined 1.42% year-on-year. The wholesale inflation rate, though, still remains in the negative territory. Retail inflation, on the other hand, rose for the fourth straight month to 5.41% in November. Prices of vegetables, pulses and fruits went up to push the price rise above the RBI's comfort level. The consumer price index-based retail inflation in October was 5%, the RBI's medium-term target. Last November, it was at 3.27%. Overall consumer food inflation rose to 6.07% in November, while retail inflation in pulses and products category shot up as high as 46.08%. Now, President Pranab Mukherjee on Monday called for respect for the rights and sensitivities of minorities. Delivering the Indira Gandhi Memorial Lecture on National Integration at the Asiatic Society in Kolkata, he said we should eliminate the forces that divide society. The president laid emphasis on awareness about past mistakes that triggered inequality in the country. Mukherjee also requested citizens to rise above caste and communal loyalties and underscored the need to cultivate a secular and democratic outlook in the national narrative.
National integration is essential for the idea of India to grow. With India emerging as an influential player in the international arena, the problems of our nation with a population of 1.28 billion can be successfully handled if we think together, work together, and grow together.
Now, the Delhi High Court came down rather heavily on the Railway Ministry and police for raising a slum cluster in West Delhi on Sunday. It also directed authorities to immediately rehabilitate the slum dwellers. Meanwhile, Chief Minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, met the Railway Minister to iron out the matter.
Slamming the railways and state police for their inhuman demolition drive in the national capital, the Delhi High Court has issued them notices and also directed them to immediately rehabilitate the displaced residents.
The Delhi High Court has issued notice to the railways, to the police commissioner, to Delhi government and the Delhi Slum Board. The Delhi High Court has very strongly taken up this matter and has asked the various authorities as to what was the rehabilitation and alternate arrangements made for these people whose houses were demolished.
Amid all the allegations and the High Court directive, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal met Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu. It has been decided that there will be no more demolition without a rehabilitation plan.
In principle, ये decide हुआ है कि आने वाले समय में कभी भी कहीं भी बिना rehabilitation के demolition नहीं किया जाएगा.
Through the day, the demolition controversy saw disruptions in the lower house as well as protests by the opposition parties outside Parliament. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi visited the Shakur Basti area where the demolition drive on Sunday left thousands homeless. Rahul Gandhi also put part of the blame on the Chief Minister of Delhi.
मोदी सरकार ने वादा किया था जहां झुग्गी वहां मकान तो बने नहीं लेकिन झुग्गियां गिराने का काम जो है उन्होंने शुरू कर दिया
जहां भी झुग्गी तोड़ी जा रही है वहां राहुल गांधी को जैसे तोड़ना शुरू होगा राहुल गांधी को वहां बुलाओ मैं नहीं तोड़ने दूंगा.
However, the controversy over the death of an infant remains. Delhi government alleges that the child died during the drive, while Railways is maintaining that the toddler died much before the demolitions took place. With inputs from Anu Diwan and Pranav Goswami, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now take a look at other national news stories in Nationwide. Deported Ulfa leader Anup Chetia sought forgiveness from the people of Assam for past mistakes. He said he was ready for peace talks. Gola Barua alias Chetia was extradited on the 11th of November. He faces charges of murder, kidnapping and extortion. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha urged Prime Minister Modi to sanction a special scheme to build 50,000 houses as part of restoration in the rain-hit areas of Chennai. The project is likely to cost 5,000 crore rupees. The centre asked the Delhi High Court to extend the observation homestay of the juvenile convict in the December 16, 2012 gang rape case. The juvenile is scheduled to be released on Sunday. The centre stated that several mandatory aspects are missing from the post-release rehabilitation plan. The rupee fell to a two-year low of 67.13 per dollar amid risk aversion in emerging market assets ahead of the US Fed meet later this week. This is the lowest value of the rupee since 4th September 2013. The rupee had closed lower for 7 out of 9 previous trading sessions this month, making it the worst performing emerging Asian currency. Some international news now, and tensions between Turkey and Russia escalated today. after a Russian warship fired warning shots at a Turkish vessel at sea. The incident is the latest in a series of Turkish-Russian confrontations that have grown worse since Turkey shot down a Russian jet that was allegedly in Turkish airspace.
Turkey-Russia relations nosediving further on Monday. Russia claimed its warship had to fire warning shots at a Turkish fishing boat in the Aegean Sea to avoid collision. The captain of the Turkish boat said he was unaware his vessel was shot at. The Turkish military attaché in Moscow was summoned, while Turkey warned Russia not to push its patience.
Rusya ile şu anda uçağın düşürülmesinden sonra yaşadığımız süreçte her fırsatı tabii Rusya değerlendirmek istiyor. Biz öyle değiliz ama. Bir sorun var, spesifik bir sorun ve bunu Rusya'nın aleyhine her...
The incident comes on the heel of another naval complaint earlier this month. Turkey scolded the Russian ambassador after photographs surfaced of what appeared to be a Russian serviceman posing with a rocket launcher in Turkish waters. Relations between the two soured over their differing goals in Syria. They escalated sharply in November when Turkish forces shot down a Russian fighter jet near the Syrian border. Russia retaliated by imposing economic sanctions on Turkey.
Bugüne kadar çok iyi siyasi ilişkilerimizin olduğu ve en önemli ticaret ortağımız olan Rusya'ya itidal çağrısında bulunuyoruz. Ama şunu da söylüyoruz, bizim de sabrımız sınırsız değildir. Bugüne kadar yaptıklarınıza...
With the recent offensive from Moscow, there seems to be little chance of cooler heads prevailing. Both President Erdogan and Putin are seen as strong nationalist autocrats, and with both unwilling to back down or lose face, experts say the crisis is unlikely to see any resolution in a hurry. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, over 700,000 people were evacuated as Typhoon Melo made landfall in central Philippines today. 20 provinces remain under public storm alert. 40 domestic flights were grounded. Philippines Weather Department said that the storm strengthened to the equivalent of a Category 4 hurricane.
Typhoon Melo made landfall in Philippines. Expecting heavy rainfall, landslides and winds up to 215 kilometers per hour. Over 7 lakh people have been evacuated. The US military's Typhoon Warning Center ranked the typhoon as Category 4 hurricane and issued a red alert.
Masyado po tayong nagpe-prepare para sa ating Kapaskuhan, pero sana po ay mag-prepare tayo dito po sa bagyo na tumatawid nga po ngayon sa Bicol area.
Nearly 8,000 people remain stranded. Flights are grounded while schools remained closed. Philippines weather officials said typhoon's impact will not be as widespread and could help regions suffering dry spells.
Ingat po lang tayo dahil dito po sa dalang bagyo. Isang bagay lang po na benepisyo na maaaring idulot sa atin itong bagyo na si Nona ay yung dala niyang tubig doon sa mga tigang na lupa. Dahil meron po tayong El Nino na...
Typhoon Melo is taking a path similar to Typhoon Haiyan, the Category 5 typhoon that struck central Philippines in 2013. Nearly 8,000 people were killed or left missing. The worst of Melo's wind and rain is expected to affect areas at least 100 kilometers north of Tacloban, the city devastated by Typhoon Haiyan. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now have a look at other international news stories in global buzz. The death toll from the Pakistan blast on Sunday rose to 24. It's still unclear which militant group was responsible for the attack. Local residents expressed fear that militia splintered from the Taliban that swear allegiance to the Islamic State might have targeted them. An Israeli aircraft struck Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip on Sunday night, hours after a rocket fired from the territory exploded in Israel. The army said it targeted 2 Hamas military forces in northern and central Gaza. German Chancellor Angela Merkel will face the Christian Democrat Union today. This 2-day party congress starting today is attempting to unite the fractious conservatives. The debate will center around the influx of refugees. Western powers called for a ceasefire in Libya yesterday to pave way for an agreement to form a national unity government. Most representatives of the 2 rival governments currently in power in Libya are ready to sign the agreement. Well, that's the news tonight. Good night. News.